Hey everyone, just doing a quick sound check. Awesome, thank you. Yeah, we had a good Thanksgiving, but we walked into this shit, right? Unbelievable. All right, folks, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. Those of you in the U.S., hope you had a good day because we're right in the middle of the shit again, right? Listen, I want to be careful here, and if we were on the Discord channel, I would say something much different than what I'm about to say, just because of our overlords and censors. So we'll leave it at that. Yeah, so this whole new variant idea, I'll get into markets here in a minute, but tell me this isn't perfect timing, okay? If you go to like some of these sites like Drudge Report, which is half liberal, half conservative, kind of a blend of who knows what they are anymore, but this story showed up on Thanksgiving about this new variant, and I think I'm just going to say it, there's probably 3 people in Africa that had this stuff, and of course the title of this little thing that I put out just on the thumbnail just now is that the algos are going crazy. I haven't seen the algos trading like this for a while, and they haven't either because they haven't had the opportunity to turn these machines on full, all the way over, right? So this is, yeah, this is an interesting day, down 2.2%. We'll talk a little bit about crude oil, down 12%. So, boy, did Joe Brandon get bailed on this one, right? This was also perfect timing. Interesting what's going on here with, make it look like world demand is going to be destroyed, and that happened. So I'll just rattle on for a few minutes and about this because, this is, we kind of knew this was coming, right? We knew they were setting everybody up. Europe's locking down, more cases. I see stories, National Guard being sent to hospitals. Well, they laid off all the people that worked because they didn't get the vaccine, right? So the hospitals are overwhelmed. So really strange time, folks, that we live in. From a market standpoint, it was. I've been watching this thing for a little bit. I did try to help everyone last night on Twitter, and I put out the 240-minute market grid. I thought it would get most of you, the European folks and overseas folks, would get them through the night for the most part. But everything's been blowing through, and like I said, I guess I'm just trying to get the wife asked me, what are you going to do? Are you going into the office today? I go, well, maybe I might spend a couple hours. Well, here I am, and I'm glad to be here. Just I wish it was under different circumstances. So what's happened here almost immediately, and you folks that watch this channel, and I see the names that I'm seeing around right at the moment are a lot of folks that I know are on here all the time. This is probably going to destroy the intermediate models. Down 2% is going to trigger a lot of sales. We were at 49%. Let me just see if I can see that this is a Twitter account. Here we go. Perfect. Yeah, 49.07%. Well, a move like this is probably going to throw the models, just flip them, right? So all of a sudden we're going to be under 42% metrics, and we went from, and maybe in hindsight, when I set up that 3-day trade the other day, when we got that reversal, that key reversal is still live. And what's even more interesting, I'm going to show you something. We went from what I was proposing, I was looking for that second day, that little 3-day trade trigger, but from a reversal standpoint, the reversal was never negated as far as it being in existence. And it happened at an all-time new high. It happened at a classic point. And I could tell you, I'll research this a little bit, but off my memory, I've been doing this a long time, been trading these same metrics that you folks see on the screen since we developed the PPMs in 1983 and 4, okay? So everything that you see is what I've been doing with the entire career. And all I'm telling you is this particular setup I'm going to show you is probably significant. I'm going to try to keep this show to an hour and just try to get through some stuff. I am going to interact with you a little bit because I am curious what you folks, especially those of you that have been awake than most of us in the U.S. Last night it was interesting. I'm just going to bed, right? I thought, oh, I'll just take a look at the markets. I'm like, what? Start looking around, and then they've got a really interesting number. And probably the other thing they're going to tell everybody is all those vaccines you took, oh, by the way, they don't work on this. You're all going to have to stay in the house. We're going to have to lock down the entire planet again. And the other narrative that I've been talking about 4 months and going on is that somehow the economy was going to hit a wall. Well, I didn't know if this thing plays out at all. This was the wall. I'm not saying this has happened to me before, and I've talked to you folks that on one of my rants that I've had in the past is that in 1990, when the whole Kuwaiti thing happened, I was head financial analyst. I covered the financial markets, including some of the commodity markets at a firm. We had about 5,000 reps, and it was a futures firm. It wasn't we did have an equities division, but we were primarily a derivatives firm. And I was going off about how crude oil was going to go from $18 to $30, maybe even higher. And people were asking me, what would make that happen? I said, I don't know, maybe there'll be a war in the Middle East or something. And literally 3 weeks later, there was the Kuwaiti invasion, and you know the rest of the story. Crude oil went to $36. And I had our firm just loaded to the gills with this stuff. And but same thing I've been saying. I listen. Sometimes you don't know what's happening. Like I said, I'm going to stop the rant because that's not what you guys want to know. What I think is going to happen. I would expect. So, but I need you to have some context here because these events, whether this thing becomes real or not, how far they play this out, the Algos are picking this up, and you know they're going to play it. They're machines; they don't care, right? You can see how this thing's been trading today. Just these relentless. If you watch the E-minis trade, which I have for the last couple hours, it's just been it's classic where you just get these air pockets and the markets drop 10, 14, 15 handles, just nothing. Boom, air catch. Bounce back. I mean, just really crazy volatility. And the only thing that trades like that is a machine. And and I'll show you some other things. But back to the database. I will get off this, I promise. The database is probably going to get crushed tonight. I would suspect, let's go over to the, I know this is small on your screen, but it's okay for now. Sunday night's video is going to be a lot of fun, it looks like. We're at 44.9% on the daily models, okay? This is going to take out, you know, we got 45 minutes. It's not like we have the rest of a trading session to recover, right? So there's whatever bounce, if we get one here, is all we're going to get in the next hour. And tremendous amount of volume, as you would expect. You know, like I said, when I going to bed last night, I thought, well, I wish I went to bed earlier because I was up having a good time on a holiday, right? Thinking, oh, we got a nice holiday ahead of us. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the futures numbers here real quick, just so we can get a handle on some stuff that's going on here. We're trying to get a little bounce. They printed almost down to 85 again, so we're, like I said, if we're going to get a short covering rally of some sort, then that's going to come. Whatever we're going to get, we're down 2.06. Maybe we'll see if we can see any patterns on some of these other charts here. Let me go over. I just happen to have crude up here. Crude traded down to the 21 period moving average. That's probably about it for crude, but we'll touch on that here in a few minutes. Let's stay with the S&P. Of course, this is a weekly S&P. We are right at the 10-week moving average, 45.43. We're just above that. The 40-day moving average is in there. I remember setting up the scenario. Let's go over to the daily. And I'm going to do my best to get this to a scale that we can see it. I'm going to take a couple things off here, so bear with me while I clunk around in the software just a little bit. So I'm going to blow up this little section here, and just so we can see it, this right here where I'm putting the cursor, that was that reversal day. And if you recall, I was setting up that 3-day trade. Well, this is the third day. Oddly enough, we didn't get the exact criteria, but we were unable to follow through. We didn't take that top out. And I'm going to show you this on a weekly chart as well. And then we get this. So, and what I was talking about then, I thought, gee, we might trade down into the 45 handle on this. And the daily signal could end up to be a weekly signal that ends up to be something even bigger, right? So we all know at some stage that this market's just going to roll over and die. And that's, pun intended this time, is that we're probably looking at least getting down to, that's 40-day moving average is a very similar value. Let me bring that over on screen so you can see this. Very similar value. So that number here is 45.54. I'm going to flip this chart to a daily or to a weekly. Hang on. There we go. So if we come over to here, 45.85 has been the low, but we look at the 45.43 is the 10-week moving average. So 45.54, I've got to go back to the number, bear with me. 45.54 is that number, is that right? Yeah, 45.54 to 45.48. That's probably your downward target, but there's more going on here, folks. So I'm going to have to, I'm going to dig deep into this thing just because there's a scenario setting up here that, I know I did a video a couple weeks ago. We got these objectives up here, 50, 77. You can see these numbers up on top up here. I know those are there, but that doesn't mean we can't crush this thing. I want you to look at the PPMs. All of a sudden, they have all flipped on this, and this is how markets work, by the way. Like I've been talking about with our database, hasn't been overly impressed at all. Meaning that we're 49%, so 50% of the stocks, are out of the market. 50 of the symbols, not just stocks. And so we're already been in a reasonably protective strategy. If you break it down and look at portfolios, we run quite a few portfolios every night in our system. I think it used to be about 10,000. I think it's still right around that number. So if you take our database and extrapolate it out through our portfolios, typically that 50%. So if you had 20 stocks in your portfolio, probably 8 to 10 of them are long. Everything else is out and in cash. Okay, so we've already got some protection here from those of you that are institutional accounts and other people that are using the WaveTech or Portfolio Expert. If you're following the methodology, you already have protection against this stuff. and it's been building this protection going all the way back into probably in October. I'm just going to rattle on because what's setting up here is significant. So this is the daily chart. I'm going to go to the weekly, back to weekly S&P, and this, you know what, we're going to flip this to the SPX, same formation. But when we look at the weekly for the SPX, what did we do this week? 47.43, all-time new high. Low now 45.89, so 200-point range this week, even with a holiday in the middle, right? We're coming down to the 10-period moving average. 10-period moving average, there's some hope here, at least for the moment. The 10-period moving average, 45.50, I just talked about that on the futures, is the PPM is still at 0.38, PPM 2, 0.27, 0.41 on PPM 3. And this is what this is telling us, is that there, right now is there's a 60% probability hold 45.50. And when I was talking about that reversal, this is where I was talking about going to the 10-week moving average. As far as that angle of attack, it's still in play on the intermediate, but this can change. I want you to look at I can't really blow these numbers up very good as far as, so you can see this form. Maybe I can. Hang on. Let me just stay with this, okay? Just see where I can, if I can. Yeah, they're perfect. Okay. So you're looking at these PPMs down below. We're just about ready to smash through the PPM, the first derivative on PPM 1. PPM 2 is a first, second derivative. PPM 3, first, second derivative. Even the 200-week moving average is starting to break through all of its metrics. The shortest term one, the PPM 1, is the only one that is actually showing that it has some strength. So there'll be some residual support if we get follow through on when we come into next week and I go through the video on Sunday night. If we get that, but there's a couple issues here. We're 45.50 on PPM, or I'm sorry, on the 10-period moving average weekly, 44.90. Below that, the next level is another handle, and I'm going to just go with this S&P. I'm going to rattle on for a little bit, and I will cover a couple of these markets you folks are actually asking me to go through here. I don't want to spend hours, but wow, I mean, you know, what a day, right? So we're still hovering right around 4,600 on SPX, but this is pretty substantial what we're seeing here, and we're going to carry this out. So let's do this. We got a outside reversal bar 3 days ago. We didn't get confirmation on the trade. The trade triggers. I've always made those really stringent from the standpoint of making sure that it was a low risk trade, and it was just that. And in fact, folks that are in our live trading room got that trade on almost at the highs. And there are a number of people that followed through, carried that trade overnight, and they could have scalped out of that trade the next day because the markets were down pretty hard. But I know some of them stayed in, did cover on the close. We all want them back on the short side, but that's how this works. But the triggers on a trade are different than the analysis of the chart. Okay, I want to make that clear. When you're setting up a trade, you follow the rules of the trade, and those rules have been in play for me since I believe around 1984, 85 is when I first started doing that 3-day trade. And it's very stringent. Sometimes this is what happens. You get a couple of days, no confirmation, boom, doesn't take out the highs, and then you get the follow through. So what we've had is right now we are dealing with a outside week at an all-time high. So range again, 47.43, 45.89. So now we're seeing the PPMs I just showed you rolling over. We're going to go all the way we're going to go 2 more levels, and I'm going to bring up TradingView in a minute because there's some things I can do there I cannot do on this chart. Now, what else are we? We're a couple days off from a monthly close, right? This is the 26th. What is the official last day of the month here? It is Tuesday. So on Tuesday, we're going to get the close. We get follow through. We closed lower on the month last month on SPX, 4605. So we're trading right at that level right now, 4604. But if we come into Tuesday and we close lower, we're going to have at least a reversal pattern, not an outside reversal, but at least a reversal. And now we have to start talking about what's going to happen with the 10-month moving average, right? So I just checked it. It's going up about 90 handles per month. So Wednesday morning, we're going to have new calculations, and that's going to push us up to that 4380 roughly, just guessing that we're going to maintain this rate of change. So this is where when you do top-down analysis, we start with daily. Got a daily reversal 3 days ago. Got a weekly reversal working right now. There's no way they're not going to signal a outside reversal bar because we only have 30 minutes to go in this trading session. And so we're going to get that. On Tuesday, we'll call it Wednesday morning, we're going to know about if we got at least a reversal on a monthly, which suggests that the next target could be down in toward that 44 handle, 43 handle. And then, but the momentum underneath this angle of attack that I preach about all the time is still very much in place. It's not going to change. It's not going to change. So there is going to be a buy the dip opportunity here. So this is not the end of the world, but there's definitely some technical stuff that sets up. And sometimes what will happen is I'm not going to carry that thought much farther than what I'm going to mention it. Sometimes you get the monthly reversal followed by the follow through. And how many people have been telling you that it maybe even you could put me into that camp because we had those higher projections on the weekly up toward that 50, 70, 5100. Those were higher projections. I don't think those are off the board just yet, but there is potential for us to slide into a larger pattern. Now I'm going to bring up, just real quick here, I'm going to bring up Trading View. I'm just going to run through this and then we'll get to some of these other markets here, okay? Okay. These guys know how to advertise. Good for them. Okay, this is a chart that I brought up for you. This is a chart that goes back all the way back to 1872. So we're going to talk this next level. Now, we're still up 7% for this quarter. And one of the things that I've noticed that we get is when we get a negative quarter, that tends to be one of the places where things start to deteriorate. But we look at the PPMs here. They are plus 4.83, 3.90, and 3.48. And that angle of attack is absolutely insane. And had you had this back in, I'm just looking at the date, this is 76. So this rally that came out of the 74, 76 period, I started in the markets in 79. So I walked right in, let's put that right into the base of this bull market. I mean, right after, and if you read stories, my mentor, one of my main mentors, lived through that 70 to 74 market, and but he also was smart enough. He capitalized big time on the 74 to 1980, and but this is a period that you talk to those old timers back in the day, and they would tell you what a horrendous piece of shit market this was. And so that was the beginning. If you just look at these quarterly, look at this thing took us all the way right into the .com high. That all of those metrics. And you can see where I have the line right there is where the PPMs broke down, all this thing broke down, and now we're into an interesting phase here, but we're still in that very steep phase. Where are we in this cycle? I don't have an answer for that right now. I still think there's quite a bit to go. So I'm not here today in the middle of a downward day, big down day, to tell you the end of the world's here. That's not. I'm telling you the opposite. I'm telling you that there is going to be some potential downside risk. I will spend a fair amount of time before I come up on Sunday night to talk about this. But this is the main pattern I'm looking at, and you can see. I believe this was this is the 29 crash where my cursor is. Where that was wave 1. Wave 2 was the 1941 lows. Interesting enough, this was during World War II that the markets did all this. During World War II ended right about where my cursor is. That was an interesting time. And then coming out of World War II, this is the boom days, Eisenhower and Truman, Eisenhower into right into here, which have been about where Kennedy got shot here, right? So as we see this is just a big rotation. And if you notice on the wave count, I've got this labeled as wave 5. And I'll break this down if it becomes significant. We'll talk about this again. I normally do this kind of stuff on these, on these live streams when I do them. And so this is total impromptu. I didn't premeditate anything I'm talking to you about. I'm just looking at this stuff, telling you what I see. I do have context because I study it every day and walk it forward. But this chart here is not, we're not at the point, like I said, we're still up. If I go to this month, we're up 7.1% this quarter, okay? So we're not anywhere close to reversing it. It would be quite the drop. We would have to drop 7% from where we sit right now. So, okay, I think I'm done with that one. Okay, all right. Let's go back to TradeStation here. This is just one quick comment on the monthly, all of that stuff. That is what time we're getting to. 30 minutes to go, and see where. Look at this. While I was talking, they rallied 15 handles, so we're down 184. I'm looking at 175. This is, like I said, we're going to get short covering. That's all we're going to get. Let's go over to the level 2 for a second. So, so 188. Let's see if we can put some metrics on the close here. I know I spent a lot of time on the S&P, but let's just stick with it for a second here. What I want to do is see if there's anything on. Yeah, so the rangefinder. So let's talk about the close. STX for today, 4651 on, this is on the S&P cash. So we'd have to get back above that number to not give a STX buy signal. What does that mean? We should get a couple days sideways. This market grid is going to adjust downward big time. And I'm just trying to relate this whole story from the standpoint of the whole story of what's going on here with the database and the indexes and all that. And like I said, I started off talking about the database. So if you're on during that period of time, then you know that what is happening from the standpoint of the database is probably going to get crushed, and it's going to reset everything. So I'm going to tie this together. We're seeing this potential STX buy signal. I'm not telling you that you should be buying the S&P here, but I'm saying that we're going to go sideways for a couple of days, and then we're going to determine what's happening here. And we're also coming into a monthly close. Please try to keep context. I know I've been rattling on for 30 minutes, which is not unusual for me. But the setup here is daily reversal 3 days ago, weekly reversal about to occur. So think about this. So I'm going to set up one last thing as we're on this, is that the 3-day trade is also can be a 3-week trade or a 3-month trade, meaning that we have an outside reversal bar. If next Friday we close lower, we will get 2, 3, maybe 4 more weeks lower prices, which will most likely come into those levels that I talked about earlier, which we're roughly at. We're just gonna tag it down at the between 45.50 and 44.90. Those are rough numbers. I'll get all this stuff in context by Friday night's video. So make sure that is what happened, that you show up and watch that. But look, once again, everything is rolling over. The database is going to roll over on the daily. It's going to be below that 42% bullish. We're only at 49 now. And I do want to show you one last thing. I'm going to go back to WaveTech here real quick, and I want to show you one thing where I'm trying to tie this story together. That's what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm going to bring up. This is a snapshot of the database, and this is something I've been talking about. That when the top comes, this is very, very typical here. Let me make that just a touch bigger. That's too. Now that's yeah, let's just go that big. That's fine. You see the dates. So typically what the database does is it peaks out within this, what I call the power. This is where we get the most breath, the most participation in the rally. And then you notice it rolls way off, and I'll show you another chart here in a minute. Then we get what I call the secondary rally and massive divergence of the number of stocks. So this represents the number of symbols in our 16,400% database that is actually coming back. So we're back to overall about this. This is a little different view than some of the stuff, and you can't see the full view, but it's around 60. It got up to about 60%. Typically what happens next is potentially a full out liquidation of the database, which puts us, you can see this was the 2020 liquidation, and it comes back very quickly, or it did when we get into a V bottom like we have. So this may be in the process of setting up the first signs of the top of this V, and we may go into a multi-month consolidation. We'll see. I'm going too far with that, but I just want you to see that. And then the other thing I want you to see here is I'm going to take you to our portfolio expert database. I want you to see this. Okay, when you go to your account here, those of you that are, this is the other view. I can break this down by. This is the dashboard we have. We can do equities, ETFs, or mutual funds, so we can really break down the database. And last week, I can get this to interact. Here we go. Last week we had negative sell orders come in last week. So we had a little bit of buying coming in, but now we're starting to turn negative again. This is probably going to be another one of these big spikes. This was on 10/4. We had 2,600. And what this means is this database, you'll see it down below here. This is just for equities, okay? So there's probably about 6,800 equities in this part of the database. That's what we're saying. And you can see down below here, we were getting red, already starting to get red, and most of the stuff is at 50%. And for an average, we usually get 72 to 80% is when everything's running on all cylinders. And we haven't been running on all cylinders. So if you're a regular watcher of the channel, you know I've been talking about how our participation rate from the number of stocks in the trend has been declining. And here you can see it on equities, fewer and fewer equities in the mix. So we went from a peak of 72 back here in February of this year, and now we've been declining. So market continued to go up, but the breadth of the market from a trending standpoint. This is not stocks over 200-day moving average or any of that stuff. This is that our models have recognized a trend and is holding a long position. And so when it gets to that, it tells us a lot of what's going on from the standpoint of the underlying trends and how many are participating. And that's why I talk every week about these numbers and metrics that come out of our database. So enough about that. Okay, let's take a look at some of these other markets, and we'll kind of watch it close. Here we are at 17 handle on the futures. We go back over here, just take a quick look. We got SPX 21 now. So we got a ways to go. Maybe we just get massive short covering here. You know, there could be something. They traded right before when I first came on. They traded down around to the 45, 85 handles. So we're 45 handles roughly above that little print low that we had. I'm going to, let's see here. Do I have this? I was looking at some things here earlier. So this is a 60-minute chart. Trying to remember what I was looking at here earlier. Hang on. Yeah, so this was at 8 p.m. on Thanksgiving night. Our models got a sell signal here at 47.03 to get out of the futures before this decline. If you see what's setting up here, I want to bring this up. Look at the PPMs. This is hourly. We are setting up some kind of a bottom. Like I said, we're probably going to get an STX buy signal. There's a pivot number up here at 46.59, and that'll be a number I'll probably be talking about on Sunday, just to give you a setup. So we're getting back above the 10-hour moving average here, and if you've been around, especially those of you that have been on the new live trading room, I talk about these patterns that blow up. You'll see one in this area over here, and then you get what I call volatility, and those are typical of turning points in the market. Doesn't mean major, but there's some follow through. So looks like something's going on here. We've got 20 minutes to go, so that's happening on that. I'm just kind of curious. Crude oil's getting, this is crude oil. We had a sell signal out of crude here. Let me just turn this off for a minute so we don't get cluttered up. So, yeah, so let me go to daily crude. I looked at a couple things here. You know, this is, look at this, down to the 200-day moving average on crude, almost exactly. That number is, let me get the number on the screen. You can see it. Yeah, there it is. 67.62, the low 67.40. So we printed just below it. We're bouncing off of there. This is pretty dramatic from the standpoint of what's going on with the PPMs. This is daily. Let's go over to weekly. I'm just going to run through a couple of these markets that folks were asking about. Here we are down to the 40-week moving average, which is 68.08. Trading last trade 68.98. So we traded 740 low here. So looks like some decent potential to get back to around 70, 72 on this. This is probably way overblown, and I think probably reality will come back into this thing. One of the bullish things I saw just opening up the app on on CNBC. He said Jim Cramer said, "Don't buy until we find out who's getting infected." So that's probably a buy signal in itself, right? So we know that, and the yeah. So crude oil still. Yeah, this is a big hit for crude. I mean, like I said, this was what a blessing. Or why was this story? I'm serious. I know I saw a laughing face when I said there's only 3 people with this variant. It's probably true. It's in some isolated community in Africa somewhere. From what I understand, I have not studied much of that. I will be a little more fluent. Not that I want to talk about that, but it's like Ebola, right? That was pretty wicked stuff, and that was there, and it didn't spread, and that was going. I remember we had some trading days that got affected by Ebola because somebody landed in somewhere here in the U.S. with it or whatever, and the whole scenario that always gets played out. We're all going to die, and we are all going to die at some stage, but it's just these Algos and everything that we're seeing here just continues to play out. Just keeping an eyeball on the futures here. They're 610, 609 back on the futures right now, and cash 613. But anyway, so I still think it's interesting timing of all of this stuff to come out. And by the time we come into Monday, maybe they'll find out, well, they seem to be willing to lock all kinds of people down in certain countries and not let them out for not vaccines. Will they lock down people if they have this evil thing that nothing works on? And like I said, we'll hear that maybe vaccines don't work on it and everything. And, so anyway, I have to be careful. Somebody was asking about the Discord channel. If you want to find out about that, we're actually switching. We're going to keep the Discord chat going for those members, but we're actually switching over to a new live trading room software here in the next day or so. That's what I was supposed to be doing right now, to be honest with you. So we're going to get it over. We have a new trading room software that's pretty cool, and we're going to be able to record all the sessions. So those of you that are in that membership and know that. But you can go to kendallreports.com/trade. That will get you to that particular element. So you can find out more there what it's all about. And even that page will probably change by the end of the day. So anyway, back to markets. Crude oil, this is I wouldn't be surprised. OPEC's supposed to be announcing about their production. That might be something to looking at here. So Abby wrote, I usually don't look at short interest. One of my things that I don't, how's the best way to put this? I don't like looking at what other people are doing based on short interest or those kind of metrics to determine what I'm going to do. So, I have a lot of respect for the Nigerian brothers, but they base everything, a lot of things that they do based on, unusual activity. Well, I don't, John and I have mutual friends, and Pete, but we don't know each other, okay? And, but we were all in the markets at the same time, and I was there before them. But I have, I've seen a lot of things in the markets that a lot of folks haven't seen. That unusual activity is not really that useful for me. So I don't use volume or look at some of those metrics. I'm pure technician from that standpoint. I do look at when it comes to individual stocks. I look at that stuff, but that's pretty much that's it. So sorry, I don't think I can help you there. I'd love to do it, but I just don't have any metrics that I can tell you about from that standpoint. So anyway, where are we at here? 47. We're back at 05. So these sellers, these Algos, man, are not going to they're not going to let them out. Okay, if you're stuck in a trade here, they're going to make you pay to get out if you don't want to go the weekend. That's what it looks like right now. Let me just bring up that level 2 real quick. Yeah, so here we are back at 0350 on the futures, down 2% again. It tried a little rally. These sellers are relentless. Let me move that out of the way. Yeah, and this is, hang on, I do have these are the micros. Let me flip something here real quick, okay? Let's flip this over to the E-minis. Get some liquidity on here. I want to see what's going on here. Okay, yeah. So this is another typical. I'm going to move this over. A couple things so you can see what's going on with the markets from the Algos and what's going on. We just traded evens again. They're trying to press the evens here. And what you see from a lot of this stuff, there's no volume here on any bid. We're looking at 25, 35 contracts on a bid offer. You got to go way up the scale just to get to 100. Typically, you got 200 by 300. You've got much higher liquidity. We've managed to trade 1.7 million trades on a shortened session. A lot of this volume came in last night. I think I mentioned in a tweet that I did last night, there were about 281,000 that happened then. But from the standpoint of what's going on here is, this is a classic, we got them. If they want to get out, make them pay. So they'll buy back anything at 4,600 or below. They're trading 46 even. Evens are trading back at 0150, just traded a 2 handle. So they're trying to press them, maybe see what they can get on this close. I'm sure that here's 99, 97. So here they go. They're pressing them hard. Let me go full screen so you can watch this together here. Yeah, so here we go, 94, 93 print. So they press that even. Now they've really got them stuck, right? So if you were trading earlier thinking you're going to get that rally, we printed at the high here, 1875 high. Now we're at 94. See if we can set up a bottom here. Maybe we'll just spend the last 10 minutes just watching this action. One of the things, and I don't know how well you can see this on the far left-hand side of level 2, but a couple things. When you look at this liquidity bar, I'm going to make this full screen here real quick. Let me move a couple things out of the way. So when you look at this bar up here at the top, these are showing how much is on a bid ask, and you'll see there's virtually nothing here. 60, 70 contracts, and there's just there's no liquidity, and that's why when I go back to the primary screen here, when you start to look at this, that's why you get these air pockets that I was talking about when we first came on. You get the air pocket. Here we are, 91s. Look at this, 90s. But they're going to try to press the lows, it looks like, as we come into the close. So this is going to be an interesting close. So we're staying right here, folks. This requires some Runa. Yeah, so let's watch this. It looks like they're good chance we could press the lows. And if they get that going, we might see 45 get close to those numbers I was talking about earlier on the daily, I think it's daily 40 and the 10-week moving average. Printing 90s, what we're watching for, so this chart I got up here, I have the market grid, plus I have the what I call the WaveTech webs, and the webs are just linear regressions. And we're about to do a release for all the live trading room folks to get a bunch of indicators and stuff. Okay, 90.75. Yeah, they print. If they can get it print through 90, I think they'll just. There's not going to be anything under here. Yeah, it looks like they're trying hard here, folks. Here's 90, 50, 50 bid 75, 25 bid 50. Even bids. There they go, 89.50. Yeah, they want the lows. They want new lows. The Algos are all over this. And if you look at the time and sales in the middle here, every once in a while you'll see these large blocks of trades below bid, above ask. Those are Algo trades. That just tells you the only time you see that is when the Algos got those machines running full on. And here we are, 88s. So I think they're going to, I mean, we're 4 handles. This is nothing to get down to print new lows. So we went from looking like a short covering rally at the end of the day to full out sell-off coming off here. And it'll be interesting. We're 3 handles now. See if we get any kind of stability on these linear regressions and stuff here. What we look for in this kind of pattern is if we can get the shortest linears to cross the longer ones. And typically they'll go right up to the top, and it doesn't look like to me. Yeah, see how this thing's air pocketing? We just printed like 88, and then it went all the way to 925, and then right back to 88 again. So they want these things bad. You know, this is a big setup. There they go. Look at that, 86. We're heading for the lows. Couple ticks. This is it. And they'll run them. There it goes. Look at that, 84, 81 straight. From 5 to 81. So now we're down 2.5%. Thought we were going to get a recovery. Fat chance. They got everybody captured now. And now typically what will happen, let's stay with this. When you see this kind of pattern, you'll see about a 200 to 300 point rally like what's going on right now. And then they'll slam them back down to the new lows again. So that could have been it. We got a big downward reversal. Here we are at 88 after printing 81. We're getting the crossovers on those. I love the conversation you guys are having. Okay, so we bounced back to 90. So they printed a new low. No follow through at the moment, but there's one more pattern here we have to watch. I was just telling you about the volatility. This is a 1 minute graph over here. We're getting this volatility spike here now, which is typically a turning point. So we could be right back over 4,600 here if they got to cover them up. But I think there's one more potential shot at the lows again. Lows so far, 81.25 printed, and you saw when it broke, there was just an air pocket there, and now we're 10 handles higher. So we are 3.5 minutes to go to the cash close here. Looks like they're going to, let's see, I want to flip over to cash here for a second. Just get a snapshot here. Cash 96.20. See if they can close them under a 96 even on the cash. So here we trade 95s, 96. Some pretty good covering. That's what, 15 handles off of that new low that they pressed. Yeah, look at this. Here's 6 evens again. Some pretty wild trading. It's been a long time, almost a year since we've seen, over a year since we've seen trading like this. Here's '01 prints. And we're actually taking out the market grid on the 1 minute graph right now. We're trading right at it, at the RTX. Yeah, I'll put the market grid numbers up there. So definitely got a volatility blow up. Here's 602, threes trade, 325s, 350s. Yeah, so big recovery off of that. Made all the way, we've traded 23 handles higher. Here we are, '06 trades. So flash over, what do we got here? Minute and a half. We'll stay with the futures. We'll see where the cash looks like it'll go out above 46 handle if they just stabilize right in here. So that was a huge short covering rally. High print. 0625 on that one, back to '01. Yeah, you can't even quote this. If you look at that liquidity screen on the far right corner, you just see it. Liquidity will completely disappear. It's not as bad as I've seen it in some circumstances where there's literally one floating bar where there's an offer or a bid floating around and nothing else is even evident. And so, yeah, but these are really small, little, tiny trades. Look at this, 95 all of a sudden. We are in the, this is the closing minute, this is the closing bell, right, coming up here. I believe you'll hear the bell when it goes off. So 99s, 97, 95, 90, shoot, can't even quote it, 94. There's one of those floating bars on that. Look at that liquidity. There is none. Zero liquidity on the close. 91 trades, 93. That was it. Look at this, 90. Okay, so we got to talk about what's going on right now. This is all of the mutual fund ETF guys that are still putting on trades to balance out the ETFs from liquidation orders, mutual funds. All these guys are players in this actually the last 10 minutes and then this last 4 minutes. So you saw we traded all the way down. What was the low tick here? We traded down to 87.25. Now we're 97s printing. So there's about a 10 handle range here where a lot of trades are getting settled up. And I always tell you folks to watch these last 2 minutes if you have level 2 like this so you can see it. But even if you're just looking at the prints, you can see it. There is zero liquidity here. Here we are at 425 again. There is nothing out there. I mean, this is insane. We're talking about 5, 10 contracts. Price discovery is zero right now. Yeah, usually you have a nice U shape on that liquidity meter down there. You got to go out 3 to 5 bids or offer to get any orders of any size filled. That's why you're seeing them jumping around. Here we are at trade 91 was a low on this one. 90.75. Now we just printed lower. Yeah, we're 2 minutes in, but I'm just telling. I'm going to come back on screen. I'm going to look at some of your comments, see if there's anything that we can do. But there is definitely zero liquidity here. Nobody knows what to do. You know, I see markets like this, folk. You know, I go back to the '87 crash, And I remember that day in the markets and the liquidity, and there was none. And we didn't have digital viewpoint, right? Those of us that had even access to the floor or via phone or were on the floor saw what really happened in those days. And it's the same thing happening here. I'm looking at this liquidity meter and it almost flattens out. There's just nothing there. And so that's not a good sign. Doesn't mean that when we open up on Sunday again, things will look differently. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff played out over the weekend. We'll see how radical, I guess, is the word that I'm looking for, as far as what type of things that are going to be floated around on this variant that could upset the markets even more. Let's face it, all these governments, all the talk that we've had on inflation, everything, if you could crush oil 12% like we did, we'll take a look at this. Let's go just to another market so we can just focus on stuff. Gold was trying to recover pretty good earlier. It's only up 390, but we're looking at crude oil down 1231. There's a whole bunch of people in the White House right now. They're high-fiving. I forgot my camera is when I do hand signals, it's got AI, so it does some strange things. So bear with me a second here. I just got to get it to the recenter. Nice. Now you're seeing the junk in my office. Okay. All right. Well, that's all I'm going to get here, it looks like. Anyway, pretty funny. That hand signal made it be active when I put my hand straight up. Forget that stuff. So anyway, as far as what we're looking at here at crude, there's still trends involved, but these PPMs have rolled over. So once again, whoever they are, someday if I get a chance, I'll tell you a story about but this is resetting on a very short-term basis, is resetting a lot of markets. And there's going to be a lot of things to think about over the next couple of days before I come on Sunday and what all that means. Bear with me, I'm just trying to fix this camera. There we go. So, yeah, there's a lot of things to be considered here as far as what happened. A lot happened in a shortened session today, and we looks like we finished up SPX below 46 handle, 45.94. We're trading 91 even again, 90.89. So they're trying to press potentially new lows over here. I'm just going to put that on the screen while I'm talking. You can see this is 81, I believe, was the low down over here. Yeah, 81.25. We're trading 89, 87. Still no liquidity, no price discovery. Nobody, yeah, this is very interesting. We did almost 2 million contracts on the E-minis, which is a big number. And yeah, so yeah, it looks like they may press the lows again, even after the fact. We've got 8 minutes to go in this close, and there'll be a close for a few minutes, and there's another mini session, and that'll be it for the week. And there's a lot of pressure here. This is what I call the crocodile head, which is basically could be a bottoming pattern or a drifting lower in this type of pattern, which usually not necessarily bullish. But yeah, just to kind of close up on some things here, just go back to the screen. crude oil changed. The U.S. dollar got whacked. Let's just kind of summarize what went on. We saw the the 10-year down to 148. Okay, so all of a sudden everything has been tweaked. Is it going to be permanent? Meaning, is this a new trend that just happened? What's going on? PPMs on the 10-year, this is below some of the expectations I had. 150 was the kind of upper end, but like I said, this is all being generated from this big shock wave to the markets. And when you get a shock wave like this, it can literally flip the script on just about everything. And I'm not saying it is. And those of you that have been around this channel for a while, you'll know that, yeah, I will touch on Bitcoin here in just a minute. I will detach from these markets 100% and not look at them again till Sunday. I don't want to think about them. I turn them off. I don't look at charts and study them. I think it's a healthy thing to do. I've been doing it for so many years. I try to bring myself back in when I come in Sunday to do all my analysis. I try to bring that back in so I have as clear as head as I possibly can have from the standpoint of detaching from the adrenaline and all the emotions that flow out of a day like this. But just to summarize, a lot of markets got tweaked today with this thing, okay? It's just, now the hard part's going to be, is this something more significant? And as I talked about, if you've been hanging around since I started this stream, if you, our database is going to get tweaked, meaning there's going to be a lot of sell orders coming out. We close under 4,600. That's just going to I mean, I don't know how many sell signals we get. Our database on a short-term basis, about a 49% bullish coming into today. As far as the intermediate, about around the same number. So all of these numbers, we're going to see most likely, there's a metric that I talked about in a database, below 42 handle, and that was, that's going to be significant. And like I said, this is a reset, not necessarily a major top, but this thing can develop into whatever it's going to do. And the job that I have, all of us have as investors, is to determine that magnitude and what the impact is that just happened. And I can tell you there is major impact across the spectrum. Interest rates, crude oil, the stock market, equity markets, everything that matters got tweaked. The entire narrative that's been flowing around out there, all of a sudden, in a moment, got tweaked. And I saw somebody says nothing happens by coincidence. Like I said, isn't it interesting timing of all this? And like I said, my thing that I'll be watching is, what kind of noise comes out of this weekend? How do they play up this variant? What happens from there? Because let's face it, the governments and the media are all, they're all there, right? I'll just leave it at that. Somebody asked about Bitcoin. Appreciate the super chat. Let me just bring that up because it did not come up and it should have. This, like I said, everything is getting tweeted. I'm going to go full screen. And Bitcoin is breaking through that 10-week moving average. It's still got a positive 1.53. The major support on Bitcoin is now 49.9. I'm just going to round it off, 49,900. That is the extreme. Should be a bounce from there. I'm going to do two other charts real quick. PPMs are still sort of kind of hanging in there. This chart closes on Sunday and will be updated. It goes Sunday to Sunday. We'll look at the daily. We do have the potential for our STX buy signal. Close at midnight Eastern tonight below 55, 453. We'll give you that. All that's going to tell you is we're going to go sideways probably between 50, we'll call it 57.2, 58.4 range. PPMs are negative. There's a lot of downward pressure. Major resistance 57.322, and that number is coming down. Hang on. That number is about 800 per day. So we're looking at 56 handles going to be major resistance here, and all these PPMs are heading down. Ultimately, we could head to the 200-day moving average, 47,400. So there's still a lot of pressure going on here. I am going to go one more thing. I'm going to go to a 4-hour chart here. Just bear with me 1 second. And I've just got to stretch this out. Got to do one more data adjustment here. Okay. So we did get a bit. This is a 4-hour chart, 240-minute. We're looking at if you want to write down these market grid, this would be good for the next 4 hours. And it comes right into range what I just talked about from the other analysis. R1 54,842. We're trading just below that right now. Been sideways for the 3 bars. Typically you get this, there was an STX buy signal. You go sideways for 2 to 3 bars. We should try to stabilize here. The PPMs are attempting to turn up, but the next 4 hours you'd have to print probably above 55,402, and as I just pointed out, there's a lot of resistance there. So if it stabilizes above 49, probably stay between 49.55, and then Sunday night hopefully we'll be able to determine what's going on there. Yeah, so folks, I think we're going to call it quit. I see some comments on here. I wish I could comment on those. Like I said, if we were in Discord, we would, but we're not. And if we're in our new trading room, which would be totally unplugged, uncensored by anybody, and we can have open discussions about what's going on. I see this mention of this lawsuit, and I'm aware of that. And yeah. This is just more of exactly what you said there, Bell Happy 22116. That is exactly what probably going on. So anyway, folks, thanks for showing up. We had quite a few people showing up. Not quite like the pandemic days when we used to get 1,000, 1,200 live, but you know we had nice participation. I really appreciate it. I think I put some good information and perspective out there for you to think about over the weekend. I'll be up on Sunday night, so tune in. I'll be at Sunday night around 8:15 Eastern time. That's PM. I'll be up next week, and we got a full week ahead of us. A lot of things to do for sure. So anyway, folks, thanks again for being part of this channel. If you haven't subscribed, hit that like button, and share the videos. Tell your friends. I appreciate it, as always. Thanks a lot, folks. Have a great weekend, everyone. I agree with you, Herman. Yeah, Major, that's a scary thought. Don't forget to get your Runa. The good stuff. Better than coffee. By the way, I just noticed, if you're still hanging out, that they did manage to print a new low and close them there on the futures. Crazy, folks. Traded 45.79 even, minus 120, down 2.55%. Crazy. Have a great weekend. See you guys on Sunday night. Yeah, I have the Runa leaf as well. I do have them. The cans are very convenient. All right, guys. Have a great week.